Okay, try it now. Try it
Yeah,
now.
me and Tucker got on a call. What was it, yesterday?
Niraj, I think you're going to be our quality assurance tester today. Let us know if it's
No,
working.
I tried the link that you just posted, Ray. Oh, it
It's
looks like
it's
some.
now it's
Yeah,
now it's
now it's
there.
good. Now it's good.
Ray, start again. Now that we have everyone here, start again.
Start it again. Take it from the top. Yeah. All right, what's up, No Code, everybody? We're reintroducing the segment into the No Code Rumble. What's coming up? This is the middle of the Maker Stream, episode number 1. We're just getting started on Zoom, so let's jump back into that call. Come on, y'all. Let's go.
Some sound stuff going on.
All right, we're back into the Zoom
Excellent.
calls. So what's up, guys?
Hey, everybody. Finally, we got this. Yeah, we got finally this whole streaming situation sorted. We got streamers around the world in here right now. We got like 8 of us now. So we're calling this the Maker Stream. This is going to be a weekly event that Raymar and I and other amazing hosts from the community are going to be hosting together. And the point of it is that the greatest ideas, the greatest opportunities come out of serendipity. You have to let the fire breathe. Don't try to just plan everything, create these perfect podcasts. Right now, we're having so many amazing people. Like, some people have met each other, some people haven't. Everyone's working on something unique. So we wanted to create kind of an arena where everyone can come together and share that experience. And that's what the Maker Stream is. Today, we have so many amazing people. I'm going to give everyone like a quick chance to kind of jump in. And then we're going to go to the chief topic, which is going to be No Code Rumble, which was launched on Sunday. So let's start with you, Jack.
Yeah, so my name's Jack. I work at Glide Apps doing the education there. And I also run as a kind of nice side hustle my small company called Lean Musician, which does like tutorials and courses, long form courses on music for composers and producers.
Wonderful. Mosh.
Hi, my name is Mushfiqur Rahman. So I'm from Bangladesh, the capital of Bangladesh, Dhaka, staying in Dhaka. So
Lovely.
I am making a side project called UI Flow. So right now I have redesigned the whole website, and I am in the process of developing the site in Webflow. Hopefully within next Friday, I will be releasing the new version. So I will release when I am done with the development.
Fantastic. Niraj.
Hey, my name is Naraz, and I'm the founder of PandaFlow. So essentially, PandaFlow is intelligent no-code automation platform where you can connect multiple systems and create workflows to get your work done. You know, a lot of companies have like a backlog of development tasks, and over 65% of the company have backlogs on development. So what we're trying to do is make a tool so that any business user can create complex workflows and get their work done with simple drag and drop editor.
Fantastic.
And I'm excited to be here.
Great.
Likewise, thanks for being here. Andrew.
Yes, hi, I'm one of the founders of Insured Nomads, and we are re-envisioning how the interaction should be. Earlier today, I was talking with the head of product at Landbot, trying to see how we can get that no-code bot into our site, and working on as many integrations as possible so that it moves a lot smoother than people are used to dealing with when they work with insurance companies. Excited about a Glide app that we have in the works as well, and this is just incredible. Looking to break the box.
Thanks so much. That's fantastic to have you. Todd.
Hello.
You're the green of all. Jump
the
in.
what of all? Anyway, my name is Todd Siegel. I'm located here in San Francisco in a park right now down the street from where I live. And so I've been focused on prototyping, taking tools to the limit to do that for like the last 10 years or so. I was heavily involved in the tool Proto.io for about 4.5 years as their evangelist and generalist and usability cop and other such things. And I've, in that time, sort of gotten really deep into engaging a lot of the tools as a designer and prototyper. And I'm currently developing a curriculum for like dropping a designer and being able to take a concept and iterate it to achieve fit and blow minds in advance of code-centric development. And this is a theme that kind of working with Sako on, we discovered each other on Twitter. And as he said, it's sort of the secret thing that we're working on. But yeah, it's exciting to see this kind of inflection point after having been pretty deep in the kind of no-code space for the last 6 years or so. Yeah, and just as an entrepreneur too, I had a startup before. And so as someone not being a native developer with a lot of concepts and ideas, always leaning on prototyping tools, and came up with the tagline for Proto.io, prototypes that feel real. And then now it's prototypes that are real, real fast, essentially. So it's exciting to see this evolution. So that's a quick nutshell.
Fantastic. And I actually was very inspired by Todd's work very early on, because we actually discovered Proto.io kind of at the same time together. And then every year I saw his work coming together, kind of the way that many people are seeing my work with the PlayStation prototype I built and all this kind of stuff. And then the irony is, after 7 years, like it always got put off, you know, like when are we, okay, we'll talk one day. And then he found me through the PlayStation prototype. He's like, oh, this is really cool. And I was like, dude, I've been waiting to reach out to you for all this time. So that was really flattering. And yeah, we're working on something really cool called Protocol, which is going to be announced next month. But without further ado, Arthur, you've been waiting in the back. I know you're with the iPhone. I don't know if you can hop in with video or not, but I'd love to hear from you as well.
Yeah, thanks. Hopefully everyone can hear me. I don't have the opportunity to do video as I'm traveling right now, but I appreciate being on this call. I'm pretty new to the no-code space. Recently created No-Code Devs, which is basically just a social network for all no-coders around the world to join and connect. We're using Mighty Networks to power that platform, but there's been a really great response, almost 200 new users in the last 30 days or so. So check that out. Also connected with Ryan from the No Code, No Problem podcast. He's in Pittsburgh, PA, which is where I am. We've been collaborating on some things together. I'm not a Rumbler, but we're happy to sponsor and support this Rumble any way we can. We'll probably give away some t-shirts. We have No Code merch, which was an Elliot and Printify project we worked on. So we'll give away some no-code t-shirts, and just happy to be here and be part of this growing community.
Thank you so much, Arthur.
Cool.
And that's another point, is it really doesn't matter how we're all participating, as long as we're all participating, because the makers like it that little bit of push from the back to say that, you know, we're supporting this, we believe in this, like how PandaFlow came together and said, you know what, I want to give like I want to provide like free accounts to the team for a while, or I want to do this other thing. Like you know, Niraj, to you, I mean, you don't know how much that inspires everyone, all of us in the Rumble. Like people, it really goes such a long way to say, you know what, we believe in this, you know, to be able to go in as well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, totally.
one of our chief sponsor, Michael Gill from Codeless Ventures, who's putting down, he was kind enough to put, he believed in so much, he said, I'm going to put down $8,000. And with the best product, not voted by Michael or Sako or somebody else, but voted by the community, a product that they believe in. That product is going to get $8,000. But what's really great is I've made it a point to make sure that, you know, with the Rumble, just a little presentation on that real quick. You know, I wanted to create an event, an annual kind of hackathon, if you will, but on steroids, where instead of just, you know, 24 hours, come together with your buddies, grab beer and create something. It's a 1 month event that's online, which is very easy to organize. This event brings together makers and says you have 4 weeks to create not some hack, but a real product, an actual product that is going to be voted on by the community, and it's going to be put forward. And we're going to have some of the top podcasts, companies, and, you know, tools and services from the entire no-code community. We're going to jump in and say, we believe in this. We're going to support them. So you don't jump in the ring with us unless you take this very, very seriously, unless you like really want to create a product. The main purpose of it is to prove how powerful these tools have become right now. That someone like Art can. I'm sorry, can we? I'm hearing some background noise. Is someone opening the YouTube video?
She got muted. It's okay. Just somebody jumped in with their mic.
Okay, there was someone here? Well, I think it was Colleen. Yeah.
Hi, Colleen. Welcome.
Yeah. Hey, Colleen. So yeah, in a nutshell, basically, this is now going to be an annual event, and I've been talking to these companies. Glide is being super supportive as well. Like for example, David, the CEO of Glide, is offering all the participants a 1-year pro account of Glide, which is super generous, and then 3 years for the winner, which is really cool. We have MemberStack being super supportive. We have MakerPad being a major contributor as well. And every day, more and more people are stacking in and saying, hey, can I be a part of this as well? So this is a great opportunity to expose the makers, and it's a great opportunity to expose these services. So this is really the first of its kind, where everyone can kind of expose each other and help each other in this way. Because the no-code community is, there's so many tools out there that they need that kind of exposure. And what better way to show it than to have people use it and live stream the process? Like, here's how we're using PandaFlow to take our product to the next level. Here's how we're using MakerPad or a Webflow or a Glide or whatever else. And now we've already started with Jack, with lead musician. He's going to tell us a little bit later. We have Andrew with us, who's doing Insured Nomads, and we have 6 other talented makers with us too.
Why don't we talk a little bit about that process? Like,
ahead,
what's the flow? What's the flow going to look like? What, this thing kicked off March 1st. We're at March 6th now, 5th now, 4th. So what's been the process? Like, what are you guys up to? What are the makers like getting into? How are you prepping? How are we going to get updates? Like, talk to me a little bit about what's actually going on inside of the movement here.
Yeah. So we don't want to spam anybody, obviously. What we want to do is basically do Sunday updates. So every Sunday, we're going to announce what we've done in the past week and then say what we're doing next week. And that's it. And during the week, we will do live streams. Some are going to be live streams, some are going to be recordings, but we want the whole community to be part of this. So really the beauty of this event that differentiates it from everything else, like I'm already talking to a few VCs and investors as well who've looked at this, and they're like, this is a new kind of accelerator almost. It's like a live accelerator. It's almost like X Factor. You're putting these people on stage and you have 1,000 people immediately giving their feedback to that product. That is a hyper intensive pressure chamber where once you jump in, you get that support, but on the flip side, you also get that exposure, and you have to be ready for it. So that's why I think this can become a very serious event as we go. So we're just going all the way through and seeing how what happens. It's never been done before. Our process is this: we want to be able to, first of all, we want to expose the creative process through the videos. We don't want this to be a private thing where Sako is just going to grab a Red Bull. He's going to sit down, design it, and send it to Jack and be like, hey, Jack, what do you think? The first video, if you guys watch it, we go to youtube.com, find Nocode Rumble, and you can subscribe and you can see all the videos. It's going to be there. The first video we already did. Raymar, maybe you can do your magic and you can show some it side by side. We were talking about that earlier.
Yep. Just go ahead and keep chatting.
I appreciate it. So yeah, we did like a 1 hour. Perfect. So we do like 30-minute or 1 hour segments. We don't really want to go over that. We don't want this to become like a 3-hour, teardown or something. It needs to be fun, engaging. So what we're doing is we're bringing in like Nocode Rumble. It's 2 words, or I can send you a YouTube link if you like.
Yeah, just send it in the chat real quick.
Or you can actually go to our Twitter. It's right there. Okay. Yeah, I'll do that right now. It is. Sorry.
Why is this not?
Sorry. It says privately. Okay, there you go. You should have it now. Did you get it?
Got it.
It's in the chat.
Got it.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay. So yeah, so what we're doing is this week, specifically in the first week, I want to be able to share all the projects one by one, all 8 of them. So there's going to be interviews with like 30 to 1 hour segments with each member, breaking down their product, explaining the problem they're solving, how they're solving it. And then we're talking a little bit about like our creative process of like, okay, we're going to be using, for some products, for example, the tools are different. We need a different tool set or a stack. In the case of Jack, for example, we need a CMS. So we talk a little bit about that. We talk about the branding, like, visual elements. Here's how I'd like the layout to be. In the case of Andrew's platform, Andrew Jernigan, Insured Nomads, we're focusing on having, for example, having a pricing structure, more of an FAQ, like explaining what insurance is. So that's what I like, is that these products are so different from one another that you have to have completely different. You have to tap into completely different disciplines to be able to execute these products. So we want to be able to expose that and also expose the mistakes, expose like ideas and see which ones work. We don't want this, we're not trying to be perfect. And that's the thing, you can't afford to go perfect. You have 4 weeks. You don't have any time to screw around. You really have to go straight for the jugular. And that's what we're doing. And what I've had the fortune in the last few weeks to already get to know the team a little bit more or less, understand their products, give everyone kind of a starting point with the brands, their logos, their designs, you know, so on and so forth. So this week is going to be more of a, let's get to know the Rumblers. Next week is going to be, let's dive in now and let's break down the process.
So then tell me, what all are you guys building here? What's the scope of, I mean, you guys going to build fully functional MVPs using the no-code stack? Are you guys limited to the tools you can use? What kind of functionality can we expect from these products? Or, you know, like that, I guess that's what people are really looking at, because the biggest thing that's happening in the no-code space right now is that everyone gets excited about the potential and they see that you could build things, and most people aren't really sure, like, okay, what can we actually build? What are the limitations? And so I think this has a good opportunity to show people how quickly you can build stuff, but then the full potential of what you can actually build functionality-wise with these tools. To maybe dissuade some of that. So can you talk a little bit about how deep you're going to go with some of these prototypes? What are you building as part of this MVP stack? What's included in this no-code Rumble? And how are you legitimately going to do all this stuff, just you, as part of this process?
Well, I work fast. So I think I've demonstrated some of my abilities in the last month. I launched a no-code challenge specifically to challenge other of my colleagues and people I look up to and say, guys, let's just show everyone how fast you can bring together applications and ideas and execute it. So my last video that I did, maybe you can pull that up as well, Raymar, while we're doing this, is the FaceTime app that I did. And I did like in 3 minutes, and people were like, wait, you captured the camera's device and you did that? I was like, yeah, you know, it's like just having a kind of you got to structure it and know what you're doing. But I think I'm trying to challenge myself in the most brutal ways that I can. And it doesn't get more challenging than bringing together 8 people and saying, we're going to build all 8 of your products. What's great is the clonability aspect, the elements aspect of Webflow allows you to move very, very fast. That's something I want to show. That, you know, like over the years, I've developed so many elements, custom elements of my own, also templates and so on and so forth, that allows me to skip over a lot of that initial building, you know, structuring, where I can focus on the product, I can focus on the stack. So here, for example, for some of the other products, we're integrating member stack. For others, like in Jack's case, it's a full CMS, because he's doing courses, online courses, where he's showcasing his videos and then allowing you to, he's linking it to Udemy or other platforms where you can actually sell the products. And I was actually thinking we could even integrate like the e-commerce system of Webflow and do that. But so far, from everything that we've seen, the products that we're trying to create, we haven't so far hit a dead end where it's like, oh, you know, it's not possible to build this. It's actually totally possible. And at first, even for us, we thought, are we being a little ambitious? And then we realized, no, actually, that's not the problem here. The problem is the product scope, understanding your own product. So what we've done is we've broken it into 2 parts. We've said, okay, there's the initial product that we're launching, a real MVP, not a prototype, as much as me and Todd love prototypes. This is a full MVP that you can use, you can launch it, you can sign people up, all that kind of good stuff. And then there's a future tab that we're creating, where it says, click here to see where we're taking it next in the coming months, you know, and it's a full roadmap essentially. And when I present this to some of the investors, they're like, we wish all products did that. Like, it'd be so great for us to see the full scope and vision of where this person wants to take this product, as opposed to, here's just this little prototype I put together and we launched it. You know, like, something I think we can all agree to is that right now we are in a giant bubble when it comes to no code. It's just like everyone's obsessed with tools. They're not obsessed with no code products. Like, you know, Michael Gill from Codeless Ventures, he does this amazing newsletter. He's like, you know what, Sarko, here's what's really weird. Every week when I send it out, I have 2 columns. I have a column that says, here's the no-code tools that were launched, and here's the no-code products that were launched. No one clicks on the no-code products. Everyone just wants to click on, here's another cool thing I slapped together with Airtable or Zapier or whatever. And we need to get over that hunch. And that's why I think in this 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 giant event and experiment that we're doing together is to say, guys, can we just we love the products. We all, know about Glide and Webflow and all these great tools. Can we finally encourage each other to build actual products that people care about, right? And I think that's why when Michael put down the cash and he said, you know what, let's take it a step up, is the reason he did that is because he realized that the only way people are going to really take it seriously if they understand that something's on the line. Like, it's not just, people just want to do a quick hackathon together. And when they see that, then they're like, okay, I got to look at this product now. Am I going to use this? Is this something I care about? So we're trying to encourage people to go be more product centric as opposed to tool centric or, feature.
Cool. So what's next? What we got? Feedback from the Rumblers? What's going on here? What are you guys excited about? What do you guys see inside of this? And get the chat out of here. What's got you guys most amped to see what comes out of the Rumble here?
I'm really interested in Andrew's project right from the beginning, and I hope Andrew doesn't mind me saying we're going to work together on a Glide app and things like that. But one of the things when I first heard about the project, it didn't interest me at all. It's insurance, and actually one of the coolest things has been the conversations with Sako through this with all of the different brands. We had kind of a brief conversation just before we started this month about essentially positioning. And you don't like the word branding, Sako, so maybe you can come up with a better one, but
identity.
Identity, right? And I think that's been really cool, kind of really defining and refining the way that people position stuff, because I guess presumably it's to do with the fact that because you can do this in a month, you're not thinking about the technicalities as much. You're not thinking about the building blocks, can we do this? You're thinking, well, of course we can do this, so therefore we've got to think more qualitatively, or think more carefully about how we're going to do it. I hope that makes sense. That's one of the coolest things. So yeah, I'm really excited about Andrew's.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see anything. You could build anything in the insurance space with no code. That'd be cool to see.
Yeah, I agree. And something when it comes to brand versus identity, my argument is this. My background is a designer, product designer, graphic designer. I've been over a decade. I've worked with all kinds of agencies, I've worked with all kinds of companies, and I've just realized that this term, this brand, is, unless you're Tim Cook at Apple, just don't talk about brand. That is such a saturated word, and I hate how much money people spend on logos or whatever. They don't realize that really until you have a product that people care about, that's not a brand, and people kind of start at the tail end of it. They don't really, they don't start with what's important. So I call it identity. What is your identity? Raymar and I, right before we were doing the stream, we were talking about this. Okay, how do we, for example, what's the identity of this stream? What are we calling it? How would we present it? I love, those were the questions. It wasn't, what's my brand? What is a brand, really? I mean, unless you're Pepsi, branding is a wrong term. I don't think I'm going to go to, Bangladesh and Dhaka, and someone's going to know what the maker stream is, unless they live right next to Moshe's house. Yeah, that's kind of where, I see it coming. Todd made a really good point. Actually, I'd love Todd to comment on this, because he took the words right out of my mouth. The product story.
Yeah, that's great.
Could you jump in, Todd, with that? Unpack that for us, sir. You're muted. You're muted.
Got it.
Okay. Hello. Yeah, I mean, while I was listening to this, just the familiar story of, you have all these tools, you got the hammer and all of this, and it's just not focusing itself on what one should be focusing on primarily, which is the product story, the user-centered. That's user-centered, and you hear brand and identity, but it's how people relate to a product, essentially. How you have a story around a concept and create a narrative where the design evolves and contours around the actual narrative of the product. I almost imagine that what if you could almost have theater, a product concept theater, where you have the actual personas on stage performing the actual story that then leads to the design and prototyping that becomes real. So I've been thinking a lot about just the importance of product story, and it's become obviously really popular too. Is like people mentioning story very, very often these days with relation to product and such. So yeah, but it's easy to get lost on all the tools with the Cambrian explosion of tools in front of us. But and it's and like one come like a few, it seems like every day there's a new one. So
yeah.
But yeah, but good old fashioned like product design and user research and such. Now designers can actually don't have to rely on developers to make things real. So where I think the real sweet spot is.
And it's kind of like it's integrate, like seeing these things, like if I was watching the Rumble, which I'll be watching all of it, obviously all the other ones, watching someone building an entire product helps you integrate all of the different knowledge about that builder or that program, right? So let's talk about Webflow. Like one of the best things for me watching tutorials is seeing someone build something from start to finish, rather than like the little bits. Here's how you create a nav bar, and here's how you do this. And I think it was Colleen said in the chat just there, she was like saying she's curious to better see and understand the tools and to build these products from the beginning,
That's a good point.
Putting it all together into one kind of like narrative, and then also backed by like the product story is, I don't know, it just sort of fuses all of it together for someone who's trying to learn stuff. So yeah, I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, and that's what
Raymar, I wanted to comment on that to Raymar. You asked about, what we had gained so far, and we started a week ago. One thing that I take is that messaging. We each see things through our own filters. And being part of the Rumble, it has brought such a community aspect. And I look forward to getting the feedback from the viewers, from those who are voting and giving their input as they watch. Are we communicating well as we create these products? So, but that's already been totally shifted in participating in the Rumble is, how do we message?
Yeah, and I think, you say we're a week in, but if it's a month-long Rumble, that's 25%, right? So I'm just the guy trying to figure out how you put this stuff in context for people to understand outside of this. Because my biggest concern in the no-code space is exactly that. Like, you get people really excited, and you don't bring them into the process, because then it looks like wizardry, right? Where if you come into this process and at the end of the day, you just end up with a bunch of products that nobody really know how they came together, then I'm not sure that's the best way to, I guess, put this together. Like, there's been a lacking sense of like, tell me a little bit more, like what you're saying, Andrew, I think it was about, just 1 second here, I did the wrong thing here. Show me more of that process, right? Like, I know you guys have done this. You guys have done some of this, you've done some videos, you've done some of this live stream, but I guess show me more, right? Like, are you going to have that? Are you going to be showing the building process? Are you going to have like streaming in the back end, like talking through like, okay, this is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it. We're taking data, we're moving it like this. Here's to understand structure and schema. Cause those are where people get lost, especially non-technical founders.
Raymar, I love you for saying that, because that's exactly what I want to show. I just feel like if you jump straight into that part, people are going to be like, I don't know what's going on right now. So that's why I'm structuring this more like The Bachelor, like American Idol, like here's the characters, here's the people, let's get them introduced. And then I'm like, okay, now we're having a session. Like next week, we're going to be doing a full 1-2 hour session with Andrew and Crystal Pino, she's doing Nomad Tax, and Andrew is doing Insured Nomads. So they're both nomad related platforms. So I want to bring them together, and we're going to be going over the content, going over the branding, going over like, what's the platform? Is it going to be a static website? Is it going to be a member stack integration? Like, what are we trying to do here? So that's been, I want to show that process, but I don't want to show it all at once where it's just like, Jesus, like, I don't know, these people are moving way too fast for me. Building the platform is the easiest part, believe it or not. Building the platform is the easy part, because the layouts and everything that we've already discussed, there's nothing really super complex so far, other than some of the integrations that we need to do, like JetBoost and figuring like how to do the search integrations and stuff like that. And that's what's really cool is, for example, I don't use Glide. I'm looking into it myself. Jack is jumping in and saying, I'm going to help the Rumblers do the Glide app. I'm going to help, and then we have other members like Peter who's going to be, I'm going to be presenting his product, Spokeable, later this week. He's helping us with the member stack side. So I'm doing a lot of the main, like the primary platform side, but the rest of the team, they're all jumping in and helping each other to build the rest. So it's really a team effort. That's why I say we're not competing against each other. We're competing together to build exceptional products. And to Colleen's point earlier, like it is so important to not just say like, okay, you know, we launched something, you know, it's this or whatever. It's a no-code tool. But how did you do it? Why did you do it? Who does it? What problem does it solve? Like, I feel like a lot of no-code tools today, they just don't make it clear what problem they're solving. They're focusing on how they build, you know, like this is the integration we have, but why? Like, where does this even start? So I feel like that creative process is so difficult to capture unless you put it like lightning in a bottle, right, Jack? Like being able to just kind of put everyone together and show it in real time. That's when no one can fake it. It's all real, it's all natural. And I think in some sessions, we will be doing like 3-4 hours, just open-ended, where we're gonna be live and we're gonna let people jump in and do their thing. That's gonna be towards like the third week, I would say, where, you know, everyone is kind of familiar what the platforms are. But the thing is, this all started like in the spur of the moment, and it all came up so fast together so quickly that I feel like this is gonna be the wild, wild west version of this event. But next year, it's gonna be so much more structured. Everyone's going to have more time to get to know each other, figure out their time zones, figure out where to go from there. So that's going to be really exciting. I hope that answers your question, Raymond.
Guys,
Yeah,
I've got to chip off now, so I'm going to say goodbye.
All right,
I'll see
Jack.
you later, yeah?
See you later.
Thanks, Jack.
We also picked up Noah
Cheers.
in the mix. So we've got Noah in the house now.
Yeah,
What's
what
up,
up?
Noah?
What's going on? What's going on?
What's up, buddy? So yeah, I think
Thought
that
I would
definitely
join
answers
the
my
character.
question. That definitely gets to the point of, you know, showing people the guts. I think there's so much excitement in the no-code space right now. To me, it's interesting to see everyone kind of positioning themselves. And so to see the businesses being started, the products evolving, the movements like this, the media stuff, just kind of like organizing and forming, and just kind of seeing how all those puzzle pieces are going to lay out over the next year, two, etc. Those of you guys who were at No Code conference last year kind of got a real taste of like what it's like when you get that much energy in the same room. And I think what we're starting to see now is that some of that's peeling off into the internet, and we're starting to get these, you know, the small little pockets of people collaborating and working together. And I think that's going to be real interesting to see what kind of products are not only built out of this, because who cares, like, if these products become fully successful, the relationships that you'll build inside of here and what might come out of, like, putting that together becomes significant, you know? Might be a lot.
Absolutely. Noah,
Yeah,
we've all been sharing what we've been working on, man. I'd love to share what you're working on.
what's that? You said you've been sharing what you.
We've
Yeah.
all been sharing what we've been working on. I know you were working on some really cool stuff. I'd love to share with the community.
Oh yeah, I mean it's kind of the same thing I touched on last time, just the code crumbs thing. I don't know if I should expand on that again.
You should. You should. There's
yeah.
a lot of new people.
Yeah, well, last night I was just working on putting up some new snippets for the content. So that's what I've been working on, and just different ways I could optimize and automate some of the features on there. So like when new posts go live, it, you know, kind of creates new tweets about it, about the post, as well as, you know, creates like, you know, an email campaign to send out, you know, just notice about new content and stuff like that. So that's basically what I've been working on, you know, just kind of figuring out different ways to do that. I think that the challenge with it now is I got to start kind of getting people on it to use it, so I can kind of get some more user feedback as far as, you know, how the UI is and whatnot, like whether it's the best layout, you know, things like that. You know, I think that just comes with time though, so we'll see how it turns out.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm very excited for Code Crumbs, and Code Crumbs is actually also a sponsor of the No Code Rumble, which I'm very excited about. So
Yeah.
Noah's been very kind to offer some perks and advantages to the community, to the Rumblers. Like I said earlier, we have so many new sponsors coming in like almost every day at this point. So like, I want this, Raymar, what do you think about this idea? Like, instead of like just having a billboard where it's like, here's the logos of these companies, it's more like every week there's like a new batch products and sponsors that are coming in and saying like, we want to also support the community, and we can feature them on our page and say like, this next week, for example, it's like Webflow, for example, or it's Glide or whoever, and we can also integrate their services into our process. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's the more you can do to give people a feeling like they're inside this, even if they aren't, you know, and put them inside the experience. Stories driving everything, you know, the ability to just slap your phone and grab a moment or a thought or whatever. And so finding a way to organize that, and it may not be that at the end of it may just be that at the end of this we figure out how to do it better for next year, because sometimes events like this, you kind of just got to figure them out as you're going. And so we'll come up with a system and a structure. And I think the people that want to get involved will get involved. They'll be on the calls, they'll join the streams, and they'll get involved. And I think that's, you know, the most exciting thing about this is you'll get whatever you put into it. You know, you come in here and you get excited. We've seen what we can do in a few weeks when you get people excited about something. And so that's all. It's just going to compounding excitement and interest as this stuff develops.
So we just talked about what all of us are working on. There's one more person. You know who it is, Raymar? One more person has to say what he's working on. That's you. No pressure, Raymar. What are you working on?
I was going to say, I don't even think I introduced myself at the beginning of this, but whatever. I'm just the guy in the background trying to make sure the live stream actually works. You know? So my name's Raymar. I'm down in Sarasota, Florida. I have a background in WordPress. So for the last 7 years, I was doing WordPress. Actually, about a year ago, I switched to Webflow, a year and a half ago or so like that. But we were real active in the WordPress community, meetups, etc. I see a lot of parallels right now. Actually, if I go back 7 or 8 years in the WordPress world and I start looking at how things were evolving and developing, people are having the conversation, is Joomla going to win? Is Drupal going to win? Like, who's going to be the content management system winner? You know, and obviously WordPress emerged out of that. But I feel a lot of the same energy right now in the no-code space, where people are just at the birth of what 10 years from now will be maybe something that powers 25-30% of the open web like WordPress does now. And so I saw the opportunity to come right over. I'd been looking for something like Webflow since I started, and instantly I fell in love with the community. The power it gave me, the ability to like take the designs out of my head and turn them into real products, as opposed to like the hurdle that I'd always seen from a development standpoint, became huge. And so now I'm taking a little bit of my media background. We do video production, web creative strategy, things like that. And so we're trying to compile that and figure out how do we come at the no-code space in a way that's a little different than most. We're not really interested in doing like tutorials and teaching people like the low-level stuff. What we'd like to do is help kind of connect some of the communities and then use multimedia and storytelling at a high level to really wrap the story of the no-code community into a package that people can digest. And we're not sure how we're going to do that yet because the story is just starting to evolve, but this is part of it. Capturing some of this, we're building relationships with people all over the world. One of our goals is to start traveling and doing interviews and really going in detail and saying, what are you guys building? Let's talk about the community. You know, like there's a lot of people doing really interesting stuff in all different parts of the world. And so we would love to, let's say by November of this year, the No Code Conference, we're coming out with like a little sequential series of a mini doc of this is the no code movement, this is what's being built, this is who is playing in it, and who knows where that story goes. We're thinking like Anthony Bourdain's No Reservations meets No Code, and we think that could be really cool.
Yeah, we got Chris up in here. What's up, man?
Yeah, and you're muted, Sarkis. I can't hear you. Sarkis, I see you over there getting excited.
You muted me, man.
Jet Boost is in the house. Did I mute you by accident? What's up, Chris? So what were you saying there, Sarkis?
I was saying we finally have a surprise guest. I literally did a rain dance to have him with us. So thanks so much for taking the time, Chris. So Chris is one of the sponsors of the No Code Rumble as well. And it's crazy how easily and how fast, you know, we were all able to kind of support each other. Like, I keep saying that, and I'm going to keep saying it until this whole thing happens, because I've tried doing this in other spaces. I've tried doing this in other, you know, industries, and it just doesn't happen the way it does in no code. So without further ado, Chris, we've been all going around doing like a little powwow here, talking about each other's products, a little bit at the Rumble, and I'd love for you to share a little bit about JetBoost.
Yeah, sure. I mean, like I said, I'm happy to be sponsoring, you know, one of the sponsors for the Rumble. I think it's awesome. It's going to be so cool seeing the products that come out of it. And, you know, I think it's going to show the power of no code and how quickly you can build products now. So yeah, I really think it's awesome what you guys are doing. And you know, hopefully JetBoost can be a very small part of that. For those of you that don't know, JetBoost is basically it's plugins for Webflow to provide features that Webflow doesn't natively provide. Specifically right now focused on the CMS, so things like adding dynamic filters or real-time search to your Webflow sites. You can do that really easily using JetBoost without having to write any of the code yourself.
That's fantastic. And one thing I want to highlight is it's one thing to see a tutorial, it's one thing to see a tweet, but it's another thing to see makers live streaming and showing how these tools are all built in real time. Like, here's how JetBoost was integrated. You know, here's the problems we ran into. Here's like the thing that didn't make sense to me. You know, like that people think that, you know, when they say like I'm a no code expert, that, you know, these people make no mistakes. These people just know everything they're doing. You know, it is always a learning process. Like I say, like these tools, there are so many different ways you can use them. And there's always a new thing you're learning when you do it. So I feel it's so important to kind of have that perspective when you go into this. You know, for every nice tutorial we do, we run into 100 other issues. Just recently, like I'm new to the live streaming game, for example. Like for me, doing the No Code Rumble and like streaming all this and getting it together is a real challenge. Like just on Saturday, I was supposed to, like 300 people were waiting to watch the Squarespace rebuild that I was gonna do, and then everything just blew up in my face. Like I had to just reschedule it. And then I was doing one with Jack Vaughn, who just left recently before you arrived, Chris. He's doing Lean Musician, and we did a 1.5 hour, you know, talk about like the platform and how we're building it, and then none of it was saved. It just crashed again. So it's just, yeah. And then Zoom wasn't working. I had to reach out to Raymond. I was like, dude, you need to save my ass right now, because I feel like we're going to spend the next week just figuring out how to use these tools. This is not the No Code Rumble. This is the streaming Rumble, where we go and literally fight every streaming tool on the planet, trying to convince them to work for us. So I think, yeah, showing this process, it really is a humbling experience for all of us as well. It's, you're putting yourself really on the line, and you're saying like, let's see what happens, you know, and it's something that's going to stay with you forever. It's going to be on YouTube. That doesn't go away. And I think that ease, just feeling relaxed, letting it flow, you know, letting things happen as they will, is a really good experience. I think it teaches developers to just feel more relaxed and open, not feel judged. Like, you know, there's a lot of that fear that, you know, if I go, like I talked to some people, I said, would you like to do, Raymar, you mentioned, you remember I mentioned on Twitter, I was doing like a match 2 pair game. I wanted to like expand that. And I'm using the CMS and interactions to do that natively in Webflow without any custom code. And I reached out to a couple of developers and I said, would you like to jump on and do it? They're like, yeah, we're really nervous about live streaming. I was like, why? It's like, well, you know, because this is that. And I'm like, that's the problem right there. Like, you know, no code is about being open and transparent. So it doesn't get more open and transparent than this. And what we're doing as well is with the podcasts and many of these other services that reached out to us, we're kind of selecting them and saying, okay, why don't you focus on like 2 of these rumblers for the next month? You don't focus on anybody else. We don't want this to become an echo chamber where everyone's just talking about the same thing over and over again. So we're kind of like pacing ourselves and letting everyone jump in. And then every 3 months after the Rumble, after the company wins their prize, you know, the $8,000 and everything, all the good stuff. After that, we're going to be checking in every 3 months with these makers and saying, so where are we now? So it puts them on the spot and says, listen, we're not just going to forget about you. We want to know that this actually worked. We built something together. We didn't just, you know, throw something at the wall and see if it sticks. And then every 3 months like that until March 1st, 2021. And then these previous makers become the graduates, the alums from the last season, and they become the host mentors and guest judges, if you will, for the next set of Rumblers. So this becomes this continuous flowing event. It never ends. It's not just like a conference or a hackathon that happens once a year or something. Like it's always happening. And I want all of you to please pitch in with your feedback. if you feel like there's a service you want to promote, is if you want to sponsor something, you know, it's not just money. Cash is not something I'm interested in right now. I want to show that, you know, if you just give 100K to someone and say, here's 100K, that doesn't actually help them. But if you give them all these services, this exposure, this knowledge, and this chamber where they can just share and collaborate with each other, they build real empowering products. Like I know with Andrew and all these other Rumblers that I've been working with, their ideas started here a few weeks ago. Their ideas are here now. And not because of Sako, but because they individually started already sharing all this feedback with each other. And it just got better and better and better as it went. And that just shows that serendipity is so hard to capture. Normally, these people are so different that unless you had an event like the Nocode Rumble, they would not even know each other. They wouldn't collaborate with each other, you know? But now we literally have the CEO of JetBoost, we have the founders of all these companies who are like, hey, I want to be like a guest, almost like a guest star, just stepping into the live stream one day and just be like, hey, how can I help? Isn't it crazy? Like, it reminds me of back in the way I convinced Chris is I told him, I said, remember back in the 80s when you could just pick up the phone and call Bill Gates or call Steve Jobs or whatever, right? It was such an open kind of thing. Like there's this great story, right? When Steve Jobs, when he was young, he was just calling like HP and just saying, hey, I need a part. And he's like, yeah, come pick it up, kid. You know, like he gets a little job at HP or something. Like that environment, that's what the Nocode is right now. This is Silicon Valley before it became Silicon Valley. I don't want this to become some corporate bullshit down the line. I want this to be continuously open and transparent and not become so uptight. And the way we do that is by doing these kind of events and doing these maker streams and all the cool shit Raymar is doing as well. Could you tell us a little bit about the events you're organizing?
I feel like there's like the Wolf of Web Street, whatever.
The Wolf of Web Street.
Sarkis, you got that fire, man.
What happened?
Yeah, I think the other thing, just to be careful, that I mean, the way this wins is to be successful products and help people succeed. You know, like you build something cool, it'll happen again. If at the end of this you don't have a product that people are going to look at and be like, holy shit, this is a really cool example of what these guys did over the course of a month, people are going to laugh at Nocode. That's my concern, right? Is that we get too ambitious and we overpromise way too much. And at the end, you know, we're not delivering something substantial. It would be really smart of us to make sure that what we deliver provides value, not just to the users, but to the no-code space in general, to make sure that the next time this happens, it's exponentially more powerful.
I have a question, because we could talk about for days like all the cool things and the community coming together and whatnot, but for an actual well, I'll just kind of say it, like, because me and Chris the other day, or quite often actually, talk about, you know, how to come up with things that people want or need, like what's the right thing to build. So I'm kind of curious maybe how you guys, whoever's in here right now, you know, like what's your justification for actually, you know, moving forward and building something. And then secondly, if you're not there with an idea yet, you know, how do you think about these things? Like, you know, are you actively thinking about something that, you know, you want to build for the community, or in general, just a business type that, you know, people might need, or, you know, how do you go about thinking, you know, about that? And
that's a very good question. The way
people don't really talk about that, I don't think, you know.
Very good point. And there's actually been people who initially came into the Rumble and left because they realized, wow, I have to deliver a product now, not just a cool idea. Exactly what you were saying, because you're going to be on the spot. Everyone's going to be looking at you. And then when you do a voting thing where the community has to vote on the product, you might get absolutely no votes whatsoever. This community will tear you apart. And that's what I want.
Well, because there's two ways to think about it, right?
Yeah.
Either you want to build something because it doesn't exist yet and you've run into the problem. So you're like, hey, this doesn't exist, so maybe this is something I should build, which then you start to think, how do I justify building this? Like, who's going to use it? All these different things. And the other part is, do you not have an idea, but you really want to build something that is meaningful? And if so, how do you, you know, what's your thought process, and how do you go about trying to come up with, like, what are ways that you can come up with, you know, things that you know, might be worth building? Or
well, the way this whole thing actually started was I just said, like, in January that I want to provide, I want to give back to the community because they were very kind to me in January. I want to build one free website for one of my followers. and just post your projects and we'll go from there. And I was actually worried. I was like, someone might just come up and say, build my portfolio page or something, you know? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to put up a filter. I don't want to do that, you know? And I just said, like, I'm going to bring in products that I would want to use. Like, I personally would want to use this product. It's not like I'm just rebuilding someone's website. And each of these products are so different from one another that you're not going to have an echo chamber. None of them are similar to each other. They are completely different products. And they all tackle a real problem, and they do fill spaces, to your point, Noah, that don't exist right and that are just done horribly right now. One, for example, we have a few of these makers, like for example, with Andrew Jernigan, he's focusing on helping nomads get insurance. And I was like, well, okay, that's like, insurance is the most boring shit that I could ever get myself into. And then when he told me how he wants to do it, and he's like, I don't know, I'm not a developer, I don't know how to do it. I was like, that's what I need to be building. Like, how do you take something that traditionally no one would care about and make people care about it? And that's a real challenge, right? And I myself, as a person who travels a lot, I don't have insurance. Right. And he was able to convince me to get insurance. He broke down these terminologies that normally I'm just like, okay, this is bullshit. Like, I don't even want to read these websites anymore, right? And he was able to simplify it for me. I was like, you can get me to care about it. You can get anybody to care about it. So we're not focusing on like, hey, I built a cool Webflow template website or something. Like, he's focusing on, the design is secondary. I love when he said that. Like, I don't care about, the design is just a way to get you to care about what I'm saying. And he's focusing on the content. And that's number one. Number two, I think this is a good opportunity to give kind of a quick summary of what everyone's working on. And this will help you guys get excited too, I hope. Crystal is working on Nomad Tax, where she's like, you know, like, she told me her story about like, there are nomads, there are people she cares about who are just very blasé about these kind of things, about corporate policies, about taxes, about insurance and stuff. She's like, they got hammered, like destroyed their lives literally with this kind of stuff. And she's like, I built a platform for the past year that has simplified that process, and it helps them understand, except she's like, it looks so dog shit that it's like, I know that if I do better at telling my story, which unfortunately, you know, I'm not a designer, like how would I do that? I'm like, that's another product I'm gonna be working on. The third one is Lean Musician. Now, if you go to musical courses online and you look it up, you will not want to use that website. I'm very happy to open up as many websites as you like. It's always like, here it is. It's a subscription model, like pianowithjohnny.com. Literally, you could go check it out. Pianowithjohnny.com is a fantastic tool, except you look at it, and if you replaced piano with marketing or whatever other buzzword, it would just become another corporate bullshit template that was taken from WordPress 2 days ago. It doesn't get you, like, how can you make something like music so boring? It's such an inspirational medium. Like, and now the web has become so saturated that people are just like zoning out. Like, you know what? I don't want to learn about this. And then when I talked to, that's the first thing I said to Jack. I said, Jack, I'm a musician. I come from an artistic family. Like, can you get me to care about it? He's like, Sako, I want to just completely do the opposite of what these course websites are doing. Like he breaks his courses the way that Webflow University breaks it down. He says, I'm going to break it to like 2 minute, 3 minute, 5 minute, break it down to key topics. And then I'm going to be simplifying it where it's like a 5-year-old can understand what I'm saying. I was like, that's a good thing. And then he's like, I'm going to break it down and give 50% of the course for free. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I'm giving it for free. I want you to come check it out through the CMS. And then the other 50%, I know you're going to love it so much that you're going to pay me for the other 50. I was like, it takes balls, sir. Imagine if Netflix did that. Instead of having just this paywall and just says, hey, sign up or you have no access to this. Instead, they were like, you can watch the first episode of any series once for free. You would immediately care about Netflix just a little more, wouldn't you? They would have that edge over Hulu or anybody else. That's my point. Another product. We have, here, let me open this up real quick for you guys. 1 second. Here we go. So Ritika Charan, she's in India. She's also worked with Google in the past. She has a lot of experience in that field. She lives in one of the most saturated markets where she's like, Sako, I have a hard time finding like meaningful products in India. We have 2 members here with us who are originally from India. They can attest to what I'm saying right now. Going through that market, trying to find, you know, alternatives, like really good, unique products is difficult. And she found those products. And she's like, I want to build a platform where I can highlight these products and help them get the exposure that they need. She's solving a real problem that she has. And she's like, I might feature only 2 products a month, literally. She's like, that's how picky I want to be. And these are alternatives to like existing products that are very unhealthy and very bad for the ecosystem and very bad for you as well. And so she's solving a real problem too. Like all of these products are on that level, and that's what gets me super excited, in the morning when I talk to them.
Okay, so that's one. You just kind of went through like a slew of different.
That's 4 of them.
4 of them that using the same thing, like people solving problems that maybe don't exist yet. That's what I heard, like mostly.
They're all tackling their market. They know the problems in their market, and they're like, I'm going to do the opposite, and I'm going to tackle that in a new, original way through no-code tools.
All right.
I think in no-code world, I think there is a lot of this domain-specific knowledge, people who know the industry really well, but cannot really build a product.
Yeah.
So we get a lot of these, accountants and manufacturing and flower people. They have $1 billion businesses, but they're still doing a very, they're I would say they're like a more technology laggard. They haven't adopted the newest technology, but they have a massive business in the background. They know the domain very well, but they haven't been able to implement that in the technology stack. So what they're doing is with these no-code tools, they can pretty much quickly put together a lot of these things on the specific things that they need to do without needing to have, like a whole development team, it'd be taxes and insurance and trucking and things like that. They understand the whole thing, but they don't know how to like connect it. But with this new tool, they're able to do a lot of this and gain a lot of efficiency in that regard.
And by the way, the fact that they're using no-code tools to penetrate these traditionally very like solid, I would say archaic structures, insurance, tax, these kind of things. And they're able to implement it really fast and with a very small team with limited resources. That is that to me is a better way, a better representative of no code than just having a bunch of no code tools. Every day, there's another 50 no code tools that get released. No code needs real products. It needs